whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Hello. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show, live on YouTube Monday through Friday, starting at noon. And I love everybody who joins in the comments. I had to go pee before I came on the show. I was busy working, people, and then I'm like, oh, shoot. So that way I don't take a break during the show. But thank you. This is literally, if you live in the Bay Area, the calm before the next storm. When Kim McAllister joins us, she will, of course, be updating all of that. We will be starting the show, of course, with the very sad news regarding Damar Hamlin. It has been quite, I don't know what, obviously less than 24 hours since the game, which apparently has been suspended until further notice. We'll get into all of that, plus the reactions and your reaction to the reactions. Anybody that works, especially in live TV, when you're dealing with something where you don't have all the information and you're just basing it on what you see and the emotion, it's a tough gig. But I will say this, you have time before you tweet things to think about it. And Skip Bayless is getting vilified for it. So we'll get into that as well. And then we will, of course, be keeping our eyes on, and I have it on a screen. I'm going to pop popcorn in the next half hour. I just, again, didn't have time to do it. This fight over the GOP is absolutely ridiculous. It is looking like Kevin McCarthy will fall short once again on the second ballot. And if you can't tell from my S-eating grin, I am enjoying this immensely. Now, we need a speaker. It doesn't have to be a Republican. Hakeem Jeffries won with 213 votes the first ballot. He's a Democrat, people. He is a Democrat. So yeah, I'm fully enjoying this. I don't care. I'm going to take the day. I was on with Chip Franklin on his show at 9 o'clock called What the Franklin on YouTube. And I was like, I'm taking the day. I'm enjoying it. You guys can enjoy it. I feel no guilt. I don't even care. They can devour themselves. So I'll play you some sound bites of before the votes, just how they're freaking out about it. We'll hear from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Jim Jordan's trying to be like, no, support McCarthy. And everyone's like, no, we're going to throw our votes behind you. So it is a mess. It is an absolute mess for House Speaker, and it couldn't have happened to a worse political party. Also, Megyn Kelly, another person I can't particularly stand. But anyways, she was on her show. I think her show's on Sirius. And she had a take on the late Barbara Walters. And while giving respect for Barbara Walters' career, she was kind of having it's a tale as old as time take on Barbara Walters' parenting of her adopted daughter. And when I play you the sound, I want you to tell me if it's fair. Now, I'm a little biased because I don't particularly care for Megyn Kelly all that much. I'm not a fan. I don't despise the woman, but I just don't like her at all. But her take is, my question to you will be, if Barbara Walters had a penis, would they be saying the same damn thing about how he was as a father, as an adopted father? So that's coming up in the next hour. And then we'll kind of keep it in the parenting child realm. And I'll ask a basic question: is nepotism bad? And even more importantly, is it even avoidable? And nepotism, of course, is kind of your kid gets a job because you're either in a position of power to give it to them, or they don't really have the skill, but they're following in the footsteps. So that'll be coming up because a number of celebrities, both young and older, have been weighing in on this, and it'll be an interesting discussion. But of course, let's, of course, start with what happened to Damar Hamlin. So I was not watching the game last night. Surprise, surprise. I was actually at my in-laws, and my husband looked at me and was like, shoot, I think somebody died at the game. Now I instantly think somebody's drunk, fell over the railing. I mean, that's where my mind instantly went, right? Something happened at the stadium to a fan. Maybe there was a fight, something. And he's like, no, I think a player. And then of course, we just hop on and we're just slowly getting all the information you were. And It's really bad. It's really, really bad. So the Buffalo Bills, Damar Hamlin, was taken to the hospital. And I heard someone on Mark's show, I think it was saying, I've never seen an ambulance on the field before. It's literally like right there, but this is a very brutal game, as we know. But he collapsed after a collision. I'm not going to play you the hit. You can see it. Everyone saw it. The thing is, we've seen those hits nearly every game. Every game. I mean, it's a hit. The helmet did hit his chest. And he stood up real quickly. And then he fell. And his heart stopped. I did have sound. I want to play this sound for you. This is the Dr. Brian Sutterer. All right. He was weighing in. And it's been confirmed that his heart stopped. He had a heart attack. But here he is. This is Brian Sutterer. He is a doctor. He's a sports medicine doctor, PM&R trained. And this was him kind of weighing in on exactly what he saw happen to Damar Hamlin on the field. Here we go. Oh, let me make sure. Hold on. Let me make sure my sound is up because God forbid it doesn't play. Okay, here we go.
What we just witnessed tonight is one of the most rare things we can see in sports medicine, as Damar Hamlin went down with what appeared to be cardiac arrest after taking this hit on the field. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Suter, and on this channel, I try to teach you about the sports medicine and give you some insight into what we see on the field. What we saw happen tonight is not related to any sort of vaccines. This is almost certainly something called commotio cordis, an extremely
I just want to say commotio cordis, which he just has been confirmed from what I've seen as what happened. So he's going to explain it. But again, the fact that he had to include that this didn't have to do with vaccines is ridiculous. And I swear, I wish we would have left that nonsense in 2022. But let's continue.
Extremely rare condition. That's one of those things that we typically only think we're going to read about in textbooks. Essentially, what can happen is if you have a blunt trauma to the chest that occurs at exactly the right time in the cardiac electrical cycle, your heart can be sent into cardiac arrest. As Hamlin comes in here, we can see this square hit to the front of his chest. We see him get back up momentarily before ultimately collapsing back down to the ground and requiring CPR on the field. This is a tracing of our heart's electrical activity.
This is what I found really, really interesting. Actually, why I wanted to play this. So look at this.
Basically, this is one cycle of the heart squeezing. It starts off with this P wave, which is the electrical activity of the atrium at the top of the heart squeezing. Then the QRS complex, which is going to be the ventricles acting. But then the last phase is this T wave, where the ventricle basically depolarizes and kind of resets to get ready for the next cycle. For commotio cordis to happen, you have to suffer this blunt trauma to the chest at exactly the right moment, specifically on this upstroke of the T wave, in order for the heart to then be sent into this arrhythmia and subsequent cardiac arrest.
All right. So that's basically what I wanted him to explain. Very rare. It's very rare for something like this to happen. And the reason why I wanted to kind of clarify that is because a lot of people are now talking about the dangers of playing football. And so that's what I want to ask you guys in the chat. And in a few moments, and I'd love to wait until Kim McAllister gets here because she too is a parent. And I did hear what she had said earlier on the Mark Thompson show. Any parents out there, anybody who played high school, college football, do you think things like this, albeit rare, should be factored in deciding whether or not a teenager, a young boy, can play the sport? I have a nephew who plays football. He started out as quarterback. Now he's sprouted. He does not have the Medoro. Well, he has the Medoro genes, but he got the height from his mom's side. Tall. He's the tallest Medoro I think there ever will be. I don't know. Maybe he'll continue to breed tall Medoros. Really tall. He's about to turn 15 next week. He looks like he could be 17 years old. Okay. And he was quarterback and now he plays linebacker. And every time he comes over, I'm like, you should just stop playing that. Protect the head. He's a smart kid. Smart kid. Very smart kid. My brother's having none of it. He's playing. And it's not as if he's like, my brother didn't play football. But my nephew loves the game. Now he loves watching it with his dad. I'm sure it's a bonding thing. But again, it's a dangerous sport. And of course, you know, there's the money involved. There's the accolades. There's the time, the blood, sweat, and tears. There's the love of the game. I'm conflicted. You guys know I love my San Francisco 49ers. I like watching football. I do. I am very conflicted about this. I tell my nephew, you shouldn't play, but I love watching the game on Sunday and Monday. I mean, I don't even know how to reconcile that. I'm being completely honest with you. I do think that the sport is too violent. I would much rather see big catches, not the big hits, but they all come the same way, right? Is there a way to tweak the game enough where it's still football, still entertaining? But you have to change it earlier. I've had conversations with friends who have younger kids that aren't even old enough to play football yet, but you could tell they're going to be a big kid. Oh yeah, I'm going to put them into football. And I go, why? Put them in some other sport that maybe is not so violent. Oh, they're teaching them now how to do the tackles and all. When the game is on the line, they're going to hit because that's what you do to win. And until that changes, I don't think that really, truly you can change how dangerous football is. Now, then, of course, there is what should the NFL do, right? David Schuster was tweeting about the game. Let me show you some pictures because, again, it's the reaction to everything that's quite telling. So David Schuster wrote, he was with MSNBC. He said, based on a variety of reports, the NFL did not make the decision to suspend the Bengals-Bills game. Rather, players, captains, and coaches from both teams who had witnessed Bills safety Damar Hamlin getting CPR for 8 minutes said they would not continue the game. Now, the NFL has said, I don't know who was saying that we were going to continue the game. I'm sure it was up in the air. They did. I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Those players did not want to play. And I don't think they would have physically been able to get their head back in the game, which also is dangerous, right? I mean, you're asking these men to put their brains and bodies on the line and their minds are somewhere else. And you need to be focused. You need to be focused. Now we'll get, I'm sure you've heard by now that the Bengals game is going to be suspended until further notice. This is from the Cincinnati Bengals. The NFL advised that last night's game will not be resumed this week. No decision has been made to reschedule the game as any decision regarding this weekend's schedule. I don't know what the hell you do. I really, really don't. Now, there have been a couple reactions to that. One person said, asking those players on both the Bengals and Bills to practice tomorrow for a game on Sunday with the Ravens and Patriots is bad. Are they even going to be able to do it? A lot of people said, make it a tie. Refund the fans and call it a day. I don't know if they're going to refund. Some people said that they should cancel the entire season. That's not going to happen. One person said they needed to just cancel the rest of the season along with the playoffs. No Super Bowl this year. Pack it up and get ready for off season and a hopeful full recovery for Damar. Some things are bigger than sports. The NFL season should not even matter anymore after last night. And then in response to that, somebody wrote, maybe just cancel football forever in every other sport at every level and getting up in the morning. So obviously someone that does not agree with that take. What do you think should be done? I mean, like seriously. And I know everyone's talking about this today and I get it. But with football, it's so ingrained, right? It's so ingrained in our American culture. And we raise our boys. I mean, it's boys that play more often. I know there's, been some women that have been able to be kickers and things like that, but largely men play the sport. And they're sacrificing themselves for what? And their career, I mean, take Tom Brady out of it, right? A third of your life, half of your life. What's the second half going to look like if you don't end it early? With the arthritis and the aches and the pains and you can't move and you're hurting all the time. Is it worth it? I don't know how we change this. Nick writes in, football is a dangerous activity and supporting it is grotesque. If you're just now realizing how dangerous it is, you haven't been paying attention and are thus complicit. And I'll take that comment directly at myself. I'm complicit. I am. You guys, I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not really into football. You guys know I watch it. I do. I don't know how to reconcile the fact that I don't want my nephew playing football with I watch it on Sunday. I really don't. I don't know how to make it clear to the NFL and others that I want to love this sport, but you need to make it safer. Eric says, my son has as much interest in sports as I do, so I'm glad there's no chance he's going to be a football player. Yeah. But if you raise your children in a household that loves sports, can you make it flag football? Can you really make it something like that? I don't think so. Skip Bayless, he was getting vilified. He does the Skip and Shannon with Shannon Sharp show. And so here we go. This is what started it all. And again, people are just reacting and not probably putting too much thought into it. This is what Skip Bayless wrote. And tell me in the chat if you think what he wrote was insensitive, wrong, he should be canceled, fired. Skip Bayless writes, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. It's that last part, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, which suddenly seems so irrelevant that people don't seem to want to include when they criticize Skip Bayless for that comment. So here's Skip Bayless, and I have the sound for you, apologizing because he was crucified over this on social media. So here again was Skip Bayless this morning on his show without Shannon Sharp.
Jen, allow me to say up front that I apologize for what we're going to set out to do here today if it offends anyone, because we're going to try to do the show pretty much as we usually do the show. But I'll admit up front, I'm still shook up by what happened last night to Damar Hamlin. In fact, I'm still wrecked. In fact, I'm not sure I'm capable of doing this show today. But after barely sleeping on it, I decided to give it a try. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe we will fail. But we're going to try. We wrestled through much of the night whether to even do a show today because it felt like in our minds we almost can't win with this, because the last thing we want to try to do is come off as insensitive to what this young man is going through in a life or death situation. The last thing we want to do is offend anyone by trying to do what we always do, which is talk about sports. As this show goes on, we're going to try to talk about a little bit of sports, but we're going to continue to talk about what happened to this young man last night and try to sort back through it with help from you and the audience. And we ask you now, if you'd like to tweet us your emotions of the night and of this morning about what happened to Damar Hamlin, please do so. You can tweet us at @undisputed, and I will be sharing some of your tweets and your emotions as we share our experience of last night through this very difficult morning for all of us. Obviously, my partner Shannon Sharp is not here today. I look forward to seeing him tomorrow.
No, he's not. So Shannon Sharp did not show up today. Now, him and Skip had it out. I can't remember if it was 2 days recently, within the last week. And they got into a pretty big fight. I mean, they could be for ratings. I don't know if that's not why he came, but it might have been also because of Skip's tweet. So apparently Sharp no-showed. And they're saying it was either as a protest of Bayless or a statement in support of Hamlin, who of course is still in the hospital. One person said Shannon Sharp not showing up today and letting Skip twist in the wind was a good move. Yeah, they also think that Skip Bayless is kind of milking this. and saying what he can for clicks and to get attention. But again, do you think that this is really going to change anything? And let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. Hi, Kim. So we're talking, of course, we are definitely talking about football and Hamlin's injury. He's obviously still in critical condition, and we are hoping and praying he makes a full recovery. Unclear even if he makes a recovery, if he's ever going to be back on the field. But my question that I'm asking people is, do you think injuries, although what happened, at least according to doctors, what happened to Hamlin was rare. And I was showing earlier before you came on a doctor explaining, the beat of the heart when the collision happened led to this heart attack, this cardiac arrest where he needed to, be resuscitated. So it's rare. So should this, kind of trump all the other injuries we have ever seen with this sport? Or is this just another example of this game is too violent? And I don't care, what kind of penalties or flags they throw for certain kinds of hits when the game is on the line. Men are going to do. I mean, we talk about these things. And I want to play you because somebody had mentioned this in the comments about the kind of the words that are used that football players use when they're kind of going in the huddle and trying to make that play. And that, of course, and I'm sure that you guys have seen it from Ryan Clark. Let me see if I can find it for you. Yes. Okay. So he's a former Steelers safety, and it's about 2 minutes, but listen to what he says. I mean, he knows the game. He played the game. He played the same position. Here again is Ryan Clark.
I think the first thing, this is about Damar Hamlin. And it's about a young man at 24 years old that was living his dream, that a few hours ago was getting ready to play the biggest game of his NFL career, and there's probably nowhere else in the world he wanted to be. And now he fights for his life. And when Damar Hamlin falls to the turf, and when you see the medical staff rush to the field and both teams are on the field, you realize this isn't normal. You realize this isn't just football. And so many times in this game, and in our job as well, we use the cliches, I'm ready to die for this. I'm willing to give my life for this. It's time to go to war. And I think sometimes we use those things so much, we forget that part of living this dream is putting your life at risk. And tonight, we got to see a side of football that is extremely ugly, a side of football that no one ever wants to see or never wants to admit exists. When you see both teams on the field crying in that way, your first thought is Damar Hamlin. The second thought is his family. And this isn't about a football player, right? This is about a human. This is about a brother. This is about a son. This is about a friend. This is about someone who is loved by so many that you have to watch go through this. I dealt with this before, and I watched my teammates for days come to my hospital bed and just cry. I had them call me and tell me that they didn't think I was going to make it, and now this team has to deal with that, and they have no answers. And so the next time I think that we get upset at our favorite fantasy player, or we're upset that the guy on our team doesn't make the play, and we're saying he's worthless, and we're saying you get to make all this money, we should remember that these men are putting their lives on the line to live their dream. And tonight, Damar Hamlin's dream became a nightmare for not only himself, but his family and his entire team.
Exactly. I mean, it's just so well said. And I mean, when you see these grown men, right? When you see them crying on the field, hugging each other, you have to understand that this is a hard moment to go through. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see all of the work and effort that you go through as a team and with your teammate, your brother, dying on the field. And so I think that the NFL, obviously, these men were not able to play the game last night. I don't think that they should continue the game. I mean, I highly doubt the NFL won't have a Super Bowl. I really don't. I think it's money. It's just money, 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 and they're going to have to try to make a way to make it work. I think they'll do a tie and leave it at that. That's what I think will happen.
Do you mean just for this specific game, not for the rest of the schedule? Yeah.
Right. I mean,
But I mean, the fact is that anyone in this game could get injured at any moment.
Yeah.
Careers are ruined every, time they step on the field. Someone may get hurt. And so, what's to say that tomorrow's game, next weekend's game is not going to be the same thing?
Yeah.
Does that mean we should just cancel the whole ball of wax? Is it barbaric? Is it like the old gladiator sports where someone's going to die, get hurt, something? Is it time to just say, you know what, football, too violent, you're out?
Well, you guys let me know in the chat. I mean, I know how Kim feels because I heard what you said on Mark Thompson's show, of course, that it's a no for you, for your son to play football. It's a no for me either. Now, I know what it is for your son. My son has zero big goose egg interest in playing football. He did play football.
Interest. But my son is a big kid.
Yeah.
So he's 8, but probably looks 11.
Yeah.
He's always the tallest in the class.
And that's my nephew. Yeah.
Solid. And so for him, it's kind of like this natural fit. But that's not going to be what happens at this place in our house. No.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I was sharing, my nephew looks 17. He's about to turn 15. Yeah. He's a linebacker and he loves it. And every time, like I said it over the holidays, I'm like, you should just stop playing that sport. You're bashing your head in and you're a smart kid. Like, stop.
Speaking of loving it, let's see what Wes has to say. A lot of high-risk activities people do. If you enjoy something and you die doing it, you died doing something you enjoy. Probably better than catching some disease and lingering.
Yes, it's a common phrase amongst my friends. Go out doing what you love, right? You die doing what you love, getting your head bashed into the ground. I mean, if you're being honest about it, I mean, I know it's a game that people love. And I was saying, Kim, that I feel conflicted because you guys know how much I love watching football. I love watching my Niners, but I don't want my son or my nephew playing the game. I don't. I'm like, nope, that's for somebody else. All right. So we'll have news. We have Steve Moskowitz about to come on with us as well. I'm excited to talk to him, but let me know in the chats. Do you think this matters in the grand scheme of the NFL? Do you think this is going to lead to any change? Or do you think the change we're going to see is parents kind of moving along the opinion that I have and that Kim has? Or you know what? I might like to watch it, but no way in hell is my kid going to play that sports. You let me know in the chat. Of course, click that thumbs up button. Let us know that you like the show. YouTube loves the thumbs up. We really appreciate all the love and support that we've been getting. So please do that as well. But right now, let's welcome and wish a very happy new year to our exclusive founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. Happy New Year, Steve.
Happy New Year, Nikki. Happy New Year, Kim.
Hi.
And you know what I think of in the new year? It's coming up to my favorite time of year.
Oh, yeah. I knew you were going to say it. I mean, it has to be crunch time. I'm sure there are so many people, they're doing some holiday cleaning, maybe had some time off. They're looking at their paperwork. They're like, oh my God, I have so much to get in order.
That's right. And when you say getting in order, I want to have a special shout out to people that didn't file their returns. That is such a common problem. They don't file a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and more. And usually the first year, it's because they didn't have the money to pay the taxes. Then the second year rolls around and they still don't have the money and they didn't file year 1. So they think, how can they file year 2? And then year 3 rolls around and all of a sudden it becomes a lifestyle.
Exactly.
A criminal-like lifestyle. And I have seen 2 suicides over it. I saw a little boy given up for adoption because of it. Yes. And I have seen countless marriages end in divorce, businesses closed that didn't have to, all because people don't know what to do. So I don't want to say make it a New Year's resolution, but it is the beginning of the year.
Why not?
How about taking care of yourself and your family? Let us take over the problem. We know what to do. We'll file all the old back returns. I know you can't pay your taxes in a lot of cases. That's okay. We'll make a deal for you. And then we can give you back a normal life. That's what I have to say on our very first day of the new year of 2023.
All right, Steve. So real quickly, when people are trying to get their stuff together to come see you, I mean, are you seeing people bring in like boxes of receipts and paperwork? I mean, because that's kind of what I have hiding in my closet, Steve, that you might have to be taking a look at in a month or two.
Sometimes people bring that in, and sometimes people come in and don't even know what state they were in because it's been a lot of years and they traveled around. Oh, it happens.
Okay, good. So I won't feel guilty then if I'm just an absolute financial mess.
There's no guilt in our office.
I love
We
you, Steve.
we don't have guilt. We have solutions.
There you go. So let Steve solve your problems. Give him a call. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. That's 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com.
Before we let him go, can I ask him a question? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So tax season is approaching, right? Now that we're in the new year. I wonder, I mean, I don't want to be the person who calls Steve Moskowitz April 1st. You know, I guess I'm wondering how much time, when should people call you? Like, when's the time today. Okay.
You knew he was going to say that.
Well, okay, but I mean, like, if I'm looking just for tax preparation, right? And I don't have a big IRS problem, but I'm thinking to myself, I need some help with my taxes. And I'm going to see if Steve can save me some money.
I would still say call today because let's go ahead and let's see what we're looking at. For example, or you do a refund, because the earlier refunds get processed a lot more quickly. Think of the IRS like this giant vat, and the later on in the season you give them the return, the longer you're going to wait for your return. So if you do a refund, let's get your money as quickly as we can. On the other hand, if you owe some money, this is just January. This gives you time to raise the funds, do what you have to. And it's always better when you have, now we have some time to work. And I don't want people, making themselves sick over that. And people do. Every year people make themselves sick over this. Yeah. There's no need for this. These are fixable problems. And that's true whether you haven't filed for many years and you owe a ton of money, or you just filed a regular old tax return this year and you're getting a refund or not. We're here to take care of you.
So the sooner the better.
Okay. The sooner the better.
Always sooner the better. Give Steve a call yesterday, but if not yesterday, then today. Again, 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. Happy New Year, Steve. We'll talk again soon.
Happy New Year, Nikki. Happy New Year, Kim.
Bye.
See you later.
Happy
Bye.
New Year.
Yeah. So, New Year's resolution, get your act together, people. Come on. Steve can help you.
Me
Absolutely
too.
help you. And I'm sensing from your questions, Kim McAllister.
Asking for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend, but if you're just in complete mess, how early should I call you? Like, can I call you after the show? Is that fine?
If my life is in complete disarray and I need a Moskowitz fix now.
Yeah, he's all, Kim, just call me.
How
You have
long
my
can
number.
I delay the inevitable, right?
I know, but you don't need to, because you know what? The sooner that you call Steve, the sooner you're not thinking about it anymore, Kim. Come on now. You know the answer.
Stick my head in the sand and pretend nothing's wrong.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, apparently for years, but it's not a good idea. All right, so keep commenting. We'll get to some of your comments regarding, do you think any change is going to come from this latest horrific injury? I'll just call it an injury on the football field in the professional sports, or do you think change is going to happen with parents not signing up their kids for football, like, tackle football? I mean, there's flag football. My son participated in that. No hitting. I mean, he got a touchdown once in the entire season, and it was like the Super Bowl in our house. But I would never let him play tackle football. And I wonder if how many more parents are going to think like I do, if that will change the professional sports, or if it's just, you know what? It's the name of the game, people. And if if you're going to play, then you have to know that you may get injured. So
it seems like you're either vehemently on one side of this or the other. There's no real middle ground. Either you're like, oh, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. There's so many safety precautions now. It's no big thing. You're making a big thing out of nothing. Or it's a no, my kid's not going out there.
Well, yeah, with your own kid. But for me, I'm like dancing that line. Like, I don't know. Do you watch football, Kim?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. See, I like watching football. So that's what's hard for me. And I feel, you guys can call me out on being a hypocrite. I guess that's what I am. And I think there's a lot of people like me that are concerned about how violent the game is, wish there could be some change, and yet still turn on the TV when their favorite team is playing. All right. So let us know in the chat. We are also going to, of course, be closely following. Kim is following. I'll be following. And I'll play you some sound in the next half hour of the fight over Speaker of the House. While Kim does her news, I'm going to go pop some popcorn because this is my most favorite thing to watch right now. It is highly entertaining. All that coming up. But first, some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's go right to it. House Speaker wannabe Kevin McCarthy, according to CNN, appears to have suffered a second defeat. He apparently, according to CNN, has already lost more votes than he can afford. For this round of this vote for Speaker, they're calling it a humiliating defeat. Another round of voting is likely, but it's California Republican Kevin McCarthy just does not have enough votes on the second ballot to gain the chamber's top job. The person who is eventually elected Speaker will replace California Democrat Nancy Pelosi on the Democrat side. Of course, the Republicans now in the majority in the House. But this is the first time in 100 years that the first vote didn't take. Now the second vote hasn't taken either. So we'll see what happens as we carry on. We'll be paying attention and bring you the latest information today. The NFL says the game between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals won't be played this week. Bills safety Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest during Monday Night Football yesterday, causing the game to be suspended. The Bills say Hamlin is still in the ICU at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. He remains in critical condition. A lot of thank yous being passed out to people who are expressing their concern for him, and donations being taken in as well. But again, we don't know if that game will ever be finished at this point. Sam Bankman-Fried. Look at this guy. He is the former CEO of failed crypto firm FTX, and he is pleading not guilty to fraud charges now. Sam Bankman-Fried, accused of stealing billions from customers since 2019, and entered his not guilty plea today in New York federal court. He was extradited from the Bahamas after being charged with fraud in New York City. And they are making history today on Capitol Hill. Women are. The first female vice president swore in the first woman Senate president pro tem. The Washington state lawmaker Patty Murray taking the oath of office from Kamala Harris, who also presided over the Senate today. It's the first day of the 118th Congress. And Avatar, The Way of Water, is generating big bucks at the box office. The sequel film scored the best January Monday of all time, bringing the north of $21 million just yesterday alone. It made $88 million over the 4-day holiday weekend. I don't have a picture for this one. I wish I did, because I'm telling you this story. This is a man dubbed the Santa Slayer, and he is facing charges after being busted in Virginia. Authorities say the man attacked an inflatable Santa decoration portraying St. Nick in Stafford Lakes Village on New Year's Day. Deputies say he was taken into custody for public intoxication while wearing a red jersey, underwear, and one shoe. This report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, like I do, he's at 888 Tax Deal, also MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right. Thank you. I'd be remiss. We will get to, I have my popcorn right here. We will get to the whole House Speaker thing. They have to take a third vote now. I mean, it's been very, very long time since it's ever happened before. Good afternoon, Julia.
Well, hi, Nikki. I know I heard you. It's really loud. You might want to turn that down or you're going to go even more deaf.
No, don't you just love children? I swear to God. I'm going to share a story in the next hour about how my daughter tried to do a prank on me over the Christmas holiday. I tried to get video of it because she has video of it, but that's coming next hour. But I have my popcorn ready. We're going to get into the House Speaker fight in just a moment. But I want to share this. It is up to, let me share my screen because it's crazy. It goes to show, when people feel like they can't do anything and they want to do something, they dig deep. So this is Damar Hamlin's drive. It's a toy drive. They had a goal. I mean, it was like, I think $100,000 or something small. It's over $4.6 million right now.
Wow.
$4.6 million. This is the official one. The family had put out a warning about other GoFundMe scams, which people that do that should just rot in hell. But yeah, so that's a good thing to see. Obviously, you hope that he will come through. It's sad that, he might not ever play football again. We don't know. I think the most important thing is that he breathes on his own again. That's the most important thing. So that is what the official GoFundMe page looks like. It's over again, $4.6 million. So if you can, you could donate to that. And again, our hearts go out to him. There was one other picture that I wanted to show you guys. And it was actually a tweet about what you didn't see. And I wanted to just read it to you because I know the font's small. They said, let me tell you what you did not see on TV. Not one Bills fan or one Bengals fan left their seat. The entire stadium was almost silent. The entire Bills team was around the ambulance. The entire Bengals team was down on one knee. Many in my section, Bills fans and Bengals fans, broke out in prayer. I sat and cried with a Bengals fan hugging each other so tight. The teenage Bengals fan in front of me ran to get more tissues and made sure I didn't need anything else. I saw grown men crying and strangers linking arms. So many Bengals fans circled around all the Bills fans offering support. The shocked look of every single fan showed the devastation. The walk out of the stadium was very somber, eerily quiet, and honestly just sad. This is bigger than football, something so critical bringing fans of both sides together. Tonight, we are one team praying for Hamlin strong. And when I read that, I mean, I got emotional the first time I read it. But yeah, I think, the hypocrisy of it all is that I love the game, but I hate the violence. And again, and thanks, Kim, for letting me know that you're a hypocrite just like me. I think a lot of us are. If we're honest, if we watch football and hate the violence, and I know that other sports are just as violent. You want to look at soccer, rugby, somebody had mentioned in the comments earlier. Absolutely. But it is football. It is football that has this country, right? I mean, we love it. Do you know the uproar? Even what happened to Hamlin? You know the uproar that would happen if they got rid of the Super Bowl?
Oh,
it's just true. It's true. It sucks to say, but they can't do it. So we'll keep an eye on this again. Our hearts go out. Any sort of updates? I don't know. They're not updating often.
They're saying critical condition, and I'm not hopeful. I hate to say it.
I am hopeful. We have great medical personnel in this country. I'm not hopeful that he'll play the game again. I'm not hopeful to that. I think that maybe that's it for Hamlin, and he's a young guy early in his career. Yeah. And I just hope that he makes it through with no lasting health effects. It's a violent game though. And again, what happened to him, according to doctors, is rare, but it happens. And it happens in this sport. So again, our hearts go out to him. All right, let's move on to a bit of politics. It's a very fun day in my household. I'm feeling a bit like Ted Lieu. Look at this picture of Ted Lieu. He's outside. He's like gonna go watch the House Speaker fight, and he has his bag of popcorn. That's me chewing my popcorn. It is a mess. So what the latest is, they're about to take their third vote. It was about 10 minutes ago. I got that update. Now, Kevin McCarthy's opponents are now throwing their votes behind Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan went before, everybody and said, no, vote for McCarthy. So I'm not quite sure. What?
Here's how it went in the second round for House Speaker.
Okay, go ahead. Hold on. Let me chew my popcorn. Go ahead.
212 for Representative Jeffries.
Who's a Democrat, people? Okay.
203 for Republican McCarthy. 19 for Jim Jordan. That's it.
Yeah. So how many was for McCarthy again? Tell me.
203.
Okay, so he hasn't lost any. And so they were saying that if he starts losing votes, that means that those who are supporting him are now moving on. So I love this. Now let me play for you. Am I going to start with Gates? Should I start with Gates? No, let's start with McCarthy. Okay, so this is McCarthy before even the first vote. And, it couldn't have happened to a worse human being. Cannot stand this guy. I don't want him to become House Speaker. I don't want Jim Jordan to become House Speaker. I mean, I really wish Hakeem Jeffries would become Speaker.
Before you go to it, let me just say that CNN has this article, and the headline is Republicans are hearing from GOP donors and constituents that the party looks stupid.
They do look. Oh, and again, let me just eat a piece of popcorn for that.
Like, you can't even elect a speaker.
No, and you have power.
We're in
You
trouble.
have power.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's start with Kevin McCarthy, ass hat in charge here, who wants to be in charge. Here we go.
I've been leader for 4 years. I came into this position and we had less than 200 members. We are now sitting in the majority. We put forth to the American public a commitment to America. There's times we're going to have to argue with our own members if they're looking at for only positions for themselves, not for the country. For the last 2 months, we worked together as a whole conference to develop rules that empower all members. But we're not empowering certain members over others. Last night, I was presented the only way to have 218 votes if I provided certain members with certain positions, certain gavels, to take over church committee, to have certain budgets. And they even came to the position where one, Matt Gaetz, said, I don't care if we go to plurality and we elect Hakeem Jeffries and it hurts the new frontline members not to get reelected. Well, that's not about America. And I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves.
Right.
So we may have a battle on the floor, but the battle is for the conference and the country. And that's fine with me.
What do you think the battle is for the conference and the country?
Yeah.
The problem is that you have a map how you just can't get there. So what do you do on the 10th vote, the 30th vote, the 50th vote? If it just doesn't move.
Look, I have the record for the longest speech ever on the floor. I don't have a problem getting a record for the most votes for speaker too. Thank you all. Well, I don't see how a few people, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 20, sit because they want a gavel that they can't earn by the conference of themselves. That would be interesting to me. That's not what the constituents voted him for.
I can't stand that guy, and I'm so happy it's happening to him. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, we do need a speaker, though. We can't put anybody to work until this happens. So it has to happen. Who else? Oh, and then we have, hold on, let me get this set up first. But the Marjorie Taylor Greene even came out to kind of back up what Kevin McCarthy was just saying about, people in the Freedom Caucus are asking for certain positions. And there's a point where I think she said something to the effect, and do you think that they try to bring up anything for me? I'm like, it is such the epitome of a party.
Me. What about me?
Well, it's karma. I'm going to say this. It is karma for a party. And it's so rich. I think do I have Dan Crenshaw? I thought I had Dan Crenshaw. It's really rich for a party who is like, oh my God, they're putting their own political aspirations over the GOP. Yeah, because the GOP has been putting their political party over the country forever. I mean, at least in recent years, and it's ridiculous. Here is Manu Raju. He's with CNN talking about the fact that Kevin McCarthy, again, before the first vote, which again, didn't go his way, but a lot of cussing going on, just a little bit more insight, a little more popcorn eating going on. Here again is Manu Raju.
Behind closed doors, Kevin McCarthy is essentially done. He's signaling with negotiating with this bloc of conservatives who are seeking a number of concessions to weaken the speakership, to empower them. He said he's gone so far and they have refused to get to yes. He's raising his voice. He's detailing everything that he has done. And he said, quote, I have earned this job. Now, he's also getting some pushback in the room. We are told from both our sources are telling our Capitol Hill team here that Lauren Boebert, the Colorado Republican congresswoman, said bullshit in response to what Kevin McCarthy said. Now, the one aspect of it here is Kevin McCarthy is saying he is not going anywhere. If he does not get 218 votes on that first ballot at noon today, he's going to grind it out. He said that he's going to fight this going forward. And one of his allies, Congressman Dan Crenshaw, said those block of hardliners are not going to dig in as long as they are. He said the McCarthy supporters are going to be more stubborn when it comes to this vote on the House floor. Listen.
Here we go. Listen to this.
This handful of members is very clearly looking for notoriety over principle. That's what it is.
And that is literally what all these GOP members have been looking for, right? That's why they say what they say and tweet what they tweet. It's notoriety. They're shocked. They are shocked that this is happening to them. Give me a break.
Anyone who suggests differently is in some kind of make-believe fantasy reality. It's not true. They lost those debates. That should have been the end of it, because that's how a team works, right? You hash this stuff out, figure it out, and then you move on. But if you're a narcissist, if you're
part of the GOP,
narcissist, and you believe that your opinion is so much more important than everyone else's, then you'll keep going, and you'll threaten to tear down the team for the benefit of the Democrats, just because of your own sense of self-importance. That's exactly what's happening here. We will not vote for anyone else but McCarthy. These people think they're stubborn, more and more stubborn. They think they're not going to get the communities they want. Well, obviously they won't, but it's going to be so much worse than that. You know, they are enemies now.
They have
made it clear that they prefer a Democrat agenda than a Republican one.
Oh. I mean, it is. I mean, it's like a second Christmas for me to watch the implosion of the GOP. It serves them right. It serves you right. You bred politicians like this. You rewarded them for this behavior when they were up against the Democrats. And now all of a sudden, they won't fall in line with you because, again, you have bred this greedy kind of politician, right? Me, all about my brand. F the country. F negotiating across the other side. F having any sort of solution. Just I'm going to yell, I'm going to scream. I'm not going to work with President Biden or any of the Democrats. And now, how do you not want to do exactly what I want to do? Well, that's who they are. When people show you who they are, believe them. And Matt Gaetz has proven it as well. I mean, this is him not throwing his support again behind Kevin McCarthy. But this was him right after Jim Jordan made a very impassioned speech for the GOP to support Kevin McCarthy.
Jim Jordan is the right person for Speaker of the House because he is not beholden to the lobbyists and special interests who have corrupted this place and corrupted this nation under the leadership of both Republicans and Democrats. Maybe Jim Jordan would be the right person for Speaker of the House because he wouldn't fight us when we try to get a term limits bill on the floor. Maybe Jim Jordan would be the right person because he wouldn't fight us when we try to put a balanced budget on the floor and vote for it. And maybe Jim Jordan is the right person because he would endorse the plan that was built by the Texas delegation to finally secure our border. Mr. Jordan said in his nomination that there are certain bills that we have to pass to fix the problem. The challenge is the alternative has been someone voting for the very bills that have caused these problems. Mr. Jordan says that we cannot accept legislation like the omnibus, and I fully agree. And if Jim Jordan were Speaker of the House, if he were the leader of the Republican team, we wouldn't have that circumstance choking the economy of our country, increasing inflation, and diminishing the prospects of a better life for our fellow Americans. And finally, Mr. Jordan said we must engage in rigorous oversight. Every one of my Republican colleagues knows that the person who can lead that oversight effort, who works on it every day, who has the skill and the talent and the will, is Jim Jordan. I'm nominating him, and I'm voting for him.
Listen for the clap. That's not that many. Yeah. I mean, it was very impassioned, Matt Gaetz, but Jim Jordan's nowhere close to getting enough votes either. So let's see. So they are on, I keep updating it on CNN. The impasse grows. So let's see. So Jim Jordan, it was last updated a minute ago, had 19 votes. McCarthy 203. And Jeffries is still closer. I mean, do you think that could happen? I mean, who thinks? Oh my God, it would be a second Christmas if a Democratic congressman was elected Speaker of the House when Republicans are in charge.
It won't happen. They won't do that, will they? I mean, it's crazy, but they won't go there.
I don't see how this is going to change. There is no way in hell. Well, unless Kevin McCarthy bends and gives these Never Kevin people what they want. But I think Kevin has
he's not
too much
of a
ego for that.
compromiser.
Well, I mean, I think that he's given enough, he probably thinks. But I don't see how this is going to play out. So again, pop a lot of popcorn because this is going to go late into the night. Former GOP lawmaker Charlie Dent also does not see how McCarthy gets enough votes for the speakership. He said, they can keep having these votes, but once you vote this way, it's very hard to change your vote. So I don't see how he gets there. What can he give these folks that he hasn't already tried to give them? I don't think there's anything he can give them. It will never be enough. It seems so personal. They just don't want him. So I don't think there's anything he can do, no concession he can make. There's no appeasement that he can do to win some of these folks over. And then the fact that, again, a Democrat won the first vote is crazy. And it just goes to show that even if whoever is speaker, it just shows how weak the GOP party is. And yeah, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But I'm seeing you guys mention Liz Cheney. She can be. You don't have to be a member of Congress to be speaker. Anybody can be speaker. Kim can be a speaker. I can be speaker.
Isn't that weird? You would think you would need to be a member,
Right. But you don't. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess Liz Cheney could do it. But I mean, if you think that those Never Kevin people are going to vote for Liz Cheney, no, that's never going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to come of this. Let's see. John writes, the Republicans' number one priority are to say no to any legislation proposed by Democrats and to try to embarrass Joe Biden by going after Hunter. Then they want to investigate the January 6th hearings. Exactly. Now, what part of that solves, I don't know, any problem this country has? That's the problem with the GOP. They just don't know how to lead. They don't know how to lead. They actually follow. They follow so much. And all they do is bitch and moan and complain and say the Democrats are doing it the wrong way. Socialism, socialism, socialism. The borders are open, but no solution. Tell me a solution. Tell me how you make lives better. How you get people health care, higher wages, make housing affordable. How do you grow business here, right? In a way that makes not only business sense, but environmental sense, because I don't know if you happen to notice, we have an environmental crisis we've been dealing with and honestly not moving quick enough to address. So, you cannot be part of the Democratic Party, but if you are going to oppose the Democratic Party, you better come forward with some real, true ideas that not only your party wants, but the American people can support. And again, that's what they failed to do. They did it with healthcare. They bitched and moaned for years. And when they had the chance to do anything about it, they couldn't. And thank God for John McCain, because so many Americans would have been without healthcare. And that's what he understood. And that's what the Republican Party needs to understand. So maybe, who was it? Was it Lindsey Graham who said if former President Trump becomes president, it'll do in the GOP and we've done it to ourselves or something like that. I don't know if it was Lindsey Graham or somebody like that, but it's true. Yeah. They have made this gigantic bed of S, and now they have to lay in it and wallow in it and fight in it. And it's the most disgusting mud fight you've ever seen. And I hope it works out where we have somebody sane as speaker. They're going to have to convince some Democrats to vote with them. And while it might not be Hakeem Jeffries, maybe it will be a more sane Republican. So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, let me read some of these texts that are coming in. Yeah, that's true, David. It is much easier to take shots at the guy in charge than to be in charge. Absolutely. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're going to take the shots and you're going to urge people to vote for you, vote for you, vote for you, you would have thought at some point somebody may have pulled your side around and be like, hey, I know we're really great at bitching and moaning, but we get what we want and we're in power. What are we actually presenting?
What do we want? What are we going to do?
How are we going to do it? How are we going to pay for it? Is it going to work? How is our economy going to be impacted? How are our fellow Americans going to be impacted? These are the questions that leaders need to ask themselves, and yeah, sometimes you just have to see what happens. and hope and pray that it actually works out. But you have to work across the aisle, make concessions, and do what needs to be done. Okay, Kim's going to do some news. I'll continue to read some of your comments. Can you guys click that thumbs up? I know I haven't been reminding you that much this show because we've been so busy talking, but please click the thumbs up. YouTube absolutely loves it. I had a couple of emails. Justin in Boulder Creek Pizza, big shout out to him. Just joined our Patreon community yesterday. I actually went to his place when my daughter was going camping out there with the Girl Scouts, and I checked in when I was over at Station X. Nicest guy, great pizza. I'll give him a free shout out because it's really cool. So stay dry. He's over in the Santa Cruz Mountains, obviously. And we have a big storm heading our way. We'll touch on that just a bit. We'll also touch on Jeremy Renner, have some celebrity news. I want to get into Megyn Kelly and what she said about Barbara Walters parenting. And is that something fair? But if you want to be part of our Patreon group, just go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com. You could find the link there. Our super chat is live. If you guys want to donate there, we'll give some shout outs after Kim's news to those that have already donated. It's the $sign right underneath the chat there. And you can donate any amount from 99 cents to hundreds of dollars, which honestly some of you have done. And it's just amazing. So you could do that. Of course, you'll see over my shoulder all of the cool merch we have. The Nikki Medoro shop is where you go to get all of that. We have tote bags, we have cups, we have shirts, women's cut shirts, unisex shirts, big logos, small logos. More merchandise is on the way. So take a look at that. And it's just another great way to show us that you love our show and to tell everybody else about it. But yeah, so stick with us. We'll have more news right after this news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Wasn't what I was going to start with, but just saw the headline pop up on CNN. House GOP at an impasse as tensions grow over speaker vote. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, it is going to rain tomorrow bigly, very bigly. It is such a storm. They have declared it a level 5. The first time ABC 7 has put a storm at level 5. The National Weather Service says loss of life is likely with rain, high winds, likely bringing flooding and power outages again around the Bay Area. The worst of the storm expected to hit us Wednesday afternoon and evening. So be prepared for that. Today, they're calling the calm before the storm the day to prepare. It was a bad scene in Daly City. I'll tell you, a big sinkhole this morning ate a parked SUV days after a major storm soaked the Bay Area on New Year's Eve. It happened at the intersection of Abbott and Castle there in Daly City. A Toyota SUV went right into that hole, had to be towed out of it. No one was in the vehicle, so no one hurt, but repairs are underway. And we know if the streets are already soaked and soil is already saturated with another storm, we could see even more sinkholes around the Bay Area, unfortunately. Also, unfortunately, despite all the heavy rain and snow in California, relief from drought conditions still depends on the coming months. California water officials today conducting the first snow survey of the season at Phillips Station. They recorded a snow depth of 55.5 inches, a snow water content of 17.5 inches. What does that mean? Well, it's 177% of average for this location. Data collected from the snow survey is critical to helping forecast the amount of water that will melt and run off to state reservoirs. The Department of Water Resources says the snowpack is off to one of its best starts in the last 40 years, but they say a single storm event is not enough to end our dry conditions in California. Consecutive storms with above average rain, snow, and runoff are needed to help pull California out of extreme drought. And now let's talk about the whole McCarthy situation. Pull out your popcorn once again, Nikki. The incoming House Minority Whip says Republican Kevin McCarthy has thrown away his moral compass. McCarthy wants to be elected as Speaker of the House. Didn't get enough votes in the first 2 rounds. First time that's happened in more than 100 years. Massachusetts Democrat Catherine Clark said the uncertainty surrounding the role is an extension of the extremism that we have seen from the GOP. And they just can't seem to get it together on this vote today. I'll tell you what.
McCarthy is no Pelosi, that's for sure.
No, no, that would not be okay. She would not. She would have had this nailed down before they even went to vote.
Absolutely. She always had the votes. Always.
No, and she would have known ahead of time and would have figured out a way to either make it happen or delay the vote. Around 8 in 10 Americans see 2023 as a year of economic difficulty. That's according to new data from Gallup. The poll also found 6 in 10 Americans foresee rising prices and a bad stock market this year. That apparently as they look into the old crystal ball. Let's talk about Mr. Santos. This guy. Authorities in Brazil launching an investigation into New York Republican George Santos. The New York Times reports that this case is connected to allegations Santos spent money with a stolen checkbook more than a decade ago. Is anyone surprised? Santos is expected to be sworn in as a congressman today, despite admitting to embellishing, I'll just change that word to lying, about his work experience and other things in his life. From bad to exceptionally good. As 2023 rolls in, so do a lot of new laws and initiatives in California. They include Dolly Parton. Just as last year wrapped up, Governor Gavin Newsom here in California announced plans to bring Parton's literacy program called Dolly's Imagination Library. Starting in June, children over the age of 5 will be eligible to receive a free book in the mail every month in partnership with the Superstars Literacy Initiative. The Governor Newsom's office says it'll impact more than 2.4 million children. The program expands statewide with help from Senators Tony Atkins and Shannon Grove. Since 1995, Dolly's Imagination Library has distributed more than 2 million books to children worldwide each month. And now it comes to California. Hey, Dolly, how you doing? This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, call Steve, 888-TAX-DEAL, or he's out at the internet as well. You can see right there. LLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, there we go. Thank you for joining us on the second hour of the Nikki Medoro Show, live on YouTube, starting at noon Pacific time, or anytime, actually, because a lot of you can watch this anytime you want to, in the middle of the night. You can pop popcorn with me. Someone was like, what's that crunching noise? It's me. I am loving what's happening within the GOP. It is so much fun. So much fun to watch. All right, click that thumbs up button. Show your support of the show. I do want to give a shout out to Eric Kennedy with a $20,
hey, Eric.
$20.23 for the Happy New Year. I get it. Eric.
Nice.
Thank you. Yes, the super chat is live. It's a great way to help support the show during the show. And even if you're watching it on replay, you can just go in there and click that $sign under the chat and donate whatever amount you want. And we always appreciate it. It really helps us out. And of course, you like PayPal, and a lot of you do. The PayPal email is thenikkimedoros@gmail.com. And again, we will be keeping an eye on Kevin McCarthy's hope and a prayer, which he needs both of, to become the next House Speaker. He's fallen short, and he's going to keep falling short. I don't know how this is ever going to end. They've started the third ballot, and we'll see.
Meredith says Dolly for Speaker.
Oprah. I mean, anybody else, because I just don't think that Kevin McCarthy, and I shouldn't find so much joy out of it. I feel like, Nikki, you should have other hobbies than just to bask in the demise of Kevin McCarthy, but
right.
Can't stand him. So I'm fully enjoying it.
Blanket today.
I know, you're all cozy. Are you preparing? So you talked about the storm. They're saying it could be worse than the New Year's Eve storm that we saw. Yeah. But now clarify again, because I believe I heard you correctly. They don't think that these storms are going to get us out of the drought.
They don't know. They say it depends on what happens. This is not enough to get us out of the drought. Like if this is all we got, no bueno. Right. So we need this to keep happening in order to pull us out of the drought. At this point, it's not enough.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it's a level 5, and that means that ground that's already soaked is going to get pummeled again. And I got a message from someone at ABC7 this morning saying,
Oh.
yeah, it's the highest category storm on the storm chart.
And this
To
is
give you
tomorrow night. When is this coming? Let me check my
This is
app on here.
it's tomorrow, but hardest hit the afternoon and evening hours on Wednesday. So
Okay.
they're saying, to give you a sense of what tomorrow may look like, expect a potential loss of power, high winds, localized flooding, downed trees, fallen power lines, rock mudslides. Stay safe and don't drive if you have to.
Conveniently, we're staying home.
Pass the word on. Yeah.
I mean, I feel for people that have to work outside though. Now, of course, we will be here. If the power goes out, we won't be. I'll try to maybe do a little YouTube short to clarify that for you guys.
I
But
have a hotspot on my phone, an internet hotspot. Maybe that'll work. We'll see.
we could see if we can power up this entire show on our hotspots, but we'll
By
give
the
it a shot.
phone?
We'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure our phone's fully charged tomorrow.
Which is funny because that's the other thing I always do. Because of course I start listening on my phone to Chip Franklin's What the Franklins show starting at 9. Then I listen to Mark Thompson's show from 10 until noon. So by the time it's noon, I'm like, oh, I got to get a charger. And so, but yeah, tomorrow I when I was looking at my weather before, there was, I feel like maybe Friday was supposed to be a break in the rain, but now it is straight through. And again, just to educate y'all on how to read your iPhone weather thing, that percentage doesn't mean the percentage of rain possibility. It's the percentage of the area that will get rain. So when it says 90%, that's 90% of San Jose that's going to get a lot of rain. So it's not the
Eric
chance.
has a great idea. He says we need to pre-record a power outage message, right? Like have it ready to go.
But don't you think it'd be funnier in the dark on my phone? Like, I think that would be like setting the scene.
The candle.
You don't want to see me with all the lights on, be like, the power's out. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I could see if our generator is working. We do have a generator. We bought it during COVID, but it's been in the box. It's like the worst preparation that's not prepared ever. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We knock on wood. Now that I say it, I'm jinxing myself, but we usually do pretty good as far as power outages. And the minute it comes on, will come on. And if it goes off, and we're going to go through it together. But don't worry, we're going to be here for you on the Nikki Medoro Show.
At John Slade's house, they're eating turkey during the storm. Apparently.
Ooh, turkey gumbo.
Frozen turkey, turkey sausage gumbo, turkey-related foods. They're all turkeyed up over there.
What's interesting, just because I see the word gumbo on there, and this is so like out of left field. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. I don't make gumbo from scratch. I love gumbo though. And what I normally make is the Zatarain's box of gumbo, like they have the base or whatever. Can't find it. Can't find it in the grocery store. You can find jambalaya, you can find red beans and rice. You cannot find the gumbo. Does anyone know what the hell's going on? I'm assuming supply issues, but I think that's BS. But if you could bring all the others, it's just dry rice and different stuff in it. But yeah, I love me some gumbo. See, now my mouth's watering. And guess what I'm going to have for dinner tonight? Damn it.
Andrew's concerned. He says the last time the Russian River flooded, it wasn't a Category 5 storm. And I'm worried, he says, for lowlanders. Yeah, I'm worried too.
Yeah.
This might happen.
Well, in Santa Cruz, the San Lorenzo River, right? Yeah. I mean, it was like near cresting. So who knows? And then I know in Morgan Hill, they were having a ton of flooding. I'm just staying home. I mean, I'm not going out. I got to go get the kids and stuff like that. Can't leave them stranded, but I'm not planning on doing anything tomorrow in this storm. Kim writes, I'm making a huge pot of chili tomorrow. It may have to last the whole week. Yes, indeed. Make a lot, and get your batteries, get your flashlights, all those like common sense things. You should have plenty of batteries. It's Christmas, right? Isn't everybody supposed to be? I do want to update Jeremy Renner. More details are coming out. He's been in the ICU. Now, I don't understand how it happened. But at the time of the incident, the Reno area of Tahoe had received about 6 to 12, not of Tahoe, the Reno area had received around 6 to 12 inches of snow. Okay. And 18 inches at higher elevations. Renner had posted multiple videos of the fact that he had so much snow where he was. He's actually, he's been hospitalized. He's in the ICU and he's had surgery after blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries. Apparently, that he was saved because there was somebody there to tie a tourniquet on his leg. So
Yeah.
think about that, people. And again,
I have some more information about
oh
this
yeah,
one.
please.
He was moving snow from his driveway on Sunday so that his family members could leave his Nevada home after
Right.
they were celebrating the holidays together. That's what his publicist said. So his whole family was with him when this happened. He was assisting a stranded motorist at the time of this incident.
no.
Reno Mayor Hillary Sheev says he was helping clear a neighbor's driveway so that somebody that was stranded could get out. So they haven't talked about exactly what, but they said that his snowplow, I don't know if he was out of the snowplow to help dig out the car
Had to have
or
been.
what, but it ran over his leg. It also, as you said, injured other parts of his body. He did have surgery. He's back in the ICU, recovering from surgery
I
after
just
what
feel
you
for the
said,
guy.
blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries. He's 51. He's had 2 surgeries to address what happened to him so far. And yeah, this is a very traumatic injury. So he's still not in good shape, still recovering. The
Mm.
Reno area received about 6 to 12 inches of snow between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, up to 18 inches at higher elevations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then you heard about Ken Block. He was the co-founder of DC Shoes. You know, DC Shoes. He's also a race car driver. He passed away from a snowmobile accident. Yeah, they put out this statement. It's with our deepest regrets that we can confirm Ken Block passed away in a snowmobile accident, you know, calling him a visionary. He was riding down a steep slope on the snowmobile. It flipped and then landed on him, and apparently he was killed instantly. This was in Utah where it happened. You know, obviously not the same as a snowplow, but all these things, you know, it's dangerous. I have a friend who lives in Tahoe and he snowmobiles all the time. And it's so funny. He posts, you know, oh, gray powder. And then like an hour later, I got it stuck. But because you never know. And while these things are fun, I know it's not the same thing. But I was doing the quads in the desert with my brother, and they were going up some steep things, and I'm like, I am not going up there. And there's a part of me that thought this thing's gonna land on me, and that's apparently what happened to this guy, Ken Block, co-founder of DC Shoes. He flipped and it landed right on top of him. I
he
mean,
was 55 years old.
yeah, so freaking young. So
He was
freaking
going
young.
up a steep slope at near his home in Utah, and the snowmobile just flipped back right on top of him, and he died
Yeah.
at the scene.
It's so sad. Now again, you know, these are freak accidents. I'm not saying you should never ride a snowmobile or snowplow your driveway or help your neighbor, of course. But these things are dangerous. You know, these things can happen. And
Have you been
yeah.
snowmobiling?
I've never done that.
So fun. We rented a couple in Tahoe and went on this course. They have a trail
Oh,
that
that's
you go
yeah.
on. And it was one of the highlights of things that I've done. It was really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I just yeah. Andrew Bacon says Ken's videos are amazing. He was a pretty good driver. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, it's a freak accident, but our hearts go out to him. And then there's another storm. So, you know, people are going to be using their snowplows again. People are going to go on their snowmobiles again. Stay home as much as possible. There was, you know, just kind of the whole stay at home thing. There was this Stanford expert on work from home. And he was talking about how his prediction for last year came out right. And he's like, it'd be pretty horrifying if I got it wrong. His name is Nicholas Bloom. He's a Stanford economics professor. And he said even before the pandemic, that long before the pandemic, working from home was part of his focus.
Yeah.
And at the start of last year, he forecasted that at the end of last year, a typical firm will have everyone in the office 3 days a week, typically Tuesday to Thursday, and working from home Monday and Friday. And it's obviously largely happened that way. Although he does say he missed the mark on one prediction. He said in a 2020 report, he advocated for employee choice with regards to what days of the week they'd work in the office. He's changed that. He says if you survey people, the main reason they come in is to see colleagues. They don't come in for the bagels or the ping pong table or anything like that. And so he says he now advocates for employees working in the office on the same days. When employees all come into the office, he says on the same days to work together, they focus on deep work, and then productivity rises about 3 to 5%. I'm wondering, I mean, I know we're still in COVID, so I'm not trying to act like COVID's over or anything like that. But I know a lot of people are like, no, this isn't going to last. This whole work from home thing isn't going to last. I mean, we've done it. I'm not saying that I wanted to get laid off from Station X, but geez, the pandemic really prepared us for what we're doing right now. Like, I'm used to kind of broadcasting, working from home, dealing with distractions and things like that. So, and again, it's nice on days like tomorrow and the rest of this week where we don't have to make that scary ass drive
Can you imagine?
into the city.
Yeah. Can you imagine tomorrow getting in the car and trying to drive to San Francisco?
No.
If
It
you
was
have
scary.
to do that, if you guys are watching and you have to drive to work tomorrow, I'm so sorry. Leave early, go slow, be careful. It's going to be a mess out there.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, we would go in the middle of the morning, I mean, middle of the night, basically, for most people, driving in at, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's coming down rain. You can't see anything. Then there was that part of 101 I'd always bitch about where they didn't have the reflectors on the streets because they were repaving. You don't even know where you're going. I mean, you don't know if you're in somebody's lane or not. So scary to drive. So if you don't have to, don't do it.
Right now, all the TV stations are figuring out either which reporter is the newest or the one they don't like the most, and that's the one they're sending to Blue Canyon.
Yeah, they always have to do that.
They're going up to the Blue Canyon area off of Interstate 80, standing there in the
to freeze your ass off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's snowing and it's cold. That's what I loved about being in radio and not television. So in radio, you could be in your car. Hold on. Sorry. I bet
Between me with my blanket and Nugget over there, it's like a home.
Oh,
you're like in our house. Right?
There's somebody in my yard.
Oh my. Who's in the yard? Go find out.
Okay,
We'll
one second.
You got to keep everything safe.
What the hell?
I wonder who's in the yard. I'll tell you. Nugget's going wild.
It's the mailman.
Wow. Oh, it's just the mailman. All that for that. I was thinking big drama was coming, but apparently not. So it looks like
you can hear me bitching at my dog.
Yeah, that's all right.
It was the mailman. Come a little early today. Usually they don't come until after my show, but I apologize. Nuggets, my protector. There you go. Good job, Nugget.
Third round for House Speaker is underway.
Let me get my popcorn.
So far, it's not done yet, but here's how it looks so far. 60 for Jim Jeffries, the Democrat. 55.
Wait, 6-0? 6-0. Okay.
Now 61 for Jeffries, 60 for McCarthy.
Oh, because it's live. It's still happening. Okay.
8 for Representative Jim Jordan. Yeah, I'm watching it all unfold live. It's great.
Telling you. Yes, if you're listening and not watching, I'm eating popcorn. This is so funny.
Leading right now. I mean, it's not going to stay that way, but it's just funny to me.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely funny. All right. We have time. I'm gonna open up this topic and then we'll carry it on past Kim's news. So the late Barbara Walters. We talked about this yesterday, Kim. Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker. I mean, there are women who elevate other women, right? The work that they've done, their history, their glass ceilings that they've broken. And Megyn Kelly was reflecting on the life of the late Barbara Walters. I want to play you a bit of what she said on her show. I think it airs on Sirius. I want you to tell me, and Kim, as a fellow woman, what you hear in what Megyn Kelly has to say here, and whether or not you agree with her. Here again is Megyn Kelly.
She made it in a time when women weren't being taken seriously and when it was very hard to be considered as a serious news person, right? So and all of us who have come in her wake owe her a debt of gratitude on that front. And it's one of the reasons why my admiration for her, I bought her autobiography, Audition, several years ago. Well, I actually read that book cover to cover. I read every word in it. And I was deeply disturbed by what I saw. What I saw was an incredible person professionally, and I would never take one moment of that away from her. but a woman who completely fell down on the job when it came to her mothering. And it was jarring to me, her admissions about her own mothering, and also what her book said without her seeming to realize it about her lane there as a mom. She talked about how she adopted a little girl she named her Jackie after Barbara's sister. And the daughter never saw her mother. And basically, Barbara Walters, according to her own book, was barely mothering this child. And then she writes about how the daughter, so weird, started to have all these behavioral issues. And it was like, well, I sent her off to that boarding school, and that didn't work. That was weird. And then that didn't work. That was weird. It was like, hello, I'm channeling my pal, Dr. Laura, right now. I mean, she needed one good phone call with Dr. Laura, and she would have seen exactly what was going wrong with this kid. And I had my producer, Debbie, Canadian Debbie, pull this for me because there was one line I remember. This is from the book. She talks about Jackie, who she adopted in 1968. And Barbara writes, I telephoned whenever I could. And she's on the road all the time. Like, she was with Fidel Castro. She wasn't with Jackie. I telephoned whenever I could. I told Jackie I missed her and I loved her dearly. And I asked the nanny to turn on the Today Show before Jackie went off to nursery school so she could see her mommy in that strange land called China. Then I hung up the phone, felt even lonelier, and went back to work. Okay, she's saying here she felt lonely. Elsewhere, she admits she never felt lonely. She was alone, but not lonely. She loved her career. She thrived on it. It's the same as Mike Wallace, who was a shitty father to Chris Wallace. And Chris and Mike have talked about it and written about it, but a great journalist. And each of us that has a demanding career has to decide for him or herself just how much to give to each lane. You have to work to find the balance. She never found it. And to me, it was a sad story about the sacrifice of what truly matters for, I think, the ultimate artifice of fame, money, accolades.
So what do you think about what she's saying right there? Do you think the same thing would be said? I know she mentioned, Mike Wallace and Chris Wallace, okay? And how they've hashed it out and things like that. Mm-hmm. But do you think it's fair to bring something like that up, given who Barbara Walters was, what her job was, and how many times, in my opinion, you could have had that conversation with so many other men who did the exact same thing. But because, once again, she's a woman, that it's a failure for her. Now, someone was asking in the chat, was she married? Yeah. Barbara Walters adopted Jackie with Lee Guber, Guber. And they were married from 1963 to 1976. And that's when they adopted Jackie. I don't know where he was during this whole time that Megyn Kelly, I did not read Barbara Walters' books. So I don't know that. But whether Jackie was with the dad or not, or just with nannies or what have you, Barbara wasn't there. And she's admitted it. She gave an interview where she basically said exactly what Megyn Kelly was saying. Barbara Walters said in an interview in 2014, I was so busy with the career, it's an age-old problem. And on your deathbed, are you going to say, I wish I spent more time in the office? No. You'll say, I wish I spent more time with my family. And I do feel that way. I wish I had spent more time with Jackie. But I think that anybody will say that, regardless of gender, right? Regardless of whether you're a mom or a dad. Most people, especially if you have a very demanding, let alone high-profile career, is always going to say that, right? Because there's never enough time. You can't do it all. No matter how many people claim to try, something has to give. It just always will be that way. You're fooling yourself if you think you can give 100% to everything, your family, your job, yourself. That's not. Something has to give. You decide your priorities, and they could change year from year and moment to moment, right? Sometimes you need to be like, I'm under the hood. I got to do this. I'm sorry. I got to tap out of that. I'm doing these things. Thank you, Michelle Crocker, with the $2 donation in the super chat. It's the old double standard. Again, I feel like we could have had this conversation with so many very successful men that have high profile jobs, and yet it doesn't come up enough. It doesn't. And I don't think it's fair, but I don't think she's wrong, if that makes sense. I think that
She's
Barbara
not
Walters does
wrong,
regret
but
it.
this is where it hit me first, and David says it better. Speaking ill of the dead is never a good look. At least wait a bit. It may be completely true, and
Right.
as Barbara Walters said many times about her daughter, she has
Right.
regrets. She, like you were mentioning, she has said that she has done things wrong and that she would do things differently or whatever it is. The woman just died.
Yeah.
So, let's remember Barbara Walters for what she gave to us. And, if you want to talk about down the road, people who have put their career before their family or who have made mistakes, fine. But right now, she's just passed away. So
Yeah.
let's look back at, I guess when you look back at people's lives, do you want to only remember the good things or do you want to remember the good and bad? I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like it's a little speaking ill of the dead, and it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also who it's coming from, right? Megyn Kelly, who, and I don't even know, I think Megyn Kelly has children. She's focused on her career as well. John writes, Barbara put it in her book, but Kelly was just bringing it up at the wrong time. I think there are plenty of famous men who are crappy fathers and get lambasted for it. Probably, but I don't think in the same way necessarily. I feel, again, my opinion, I feel like when men, whether they passed away or, retire, whatever, he didn't spend a lot of time with his children, but look at all of the great things that he did. And maybe Megyn Kelly is trying to say it in that way. It just doesn't come across to me that way. It seems like, but she failed. And it's this failure. It's this guilt that women constantly feel, whether alive or dead, that they're just not enough. They're just not enough. And it's never going to be enough. And I think Barbara Walters, while on one hand, personally, I'm sure she has some regrets. Like I said before, when you have a career like hers, something had to give.
Yeah.
And she wasn't giving up the career. Megyn Kelly had also said something interesting about how, and I don't think I included it in that clip though, how she wasn't really close to any of her colleagues. Like she worked with them, and yes, she brought up all these women, but on a personal level was kind of lonely. You know who else I heard that about from people that knew him personally? Rush Limbaugh. Obviously very successful, although very hateful kind of man. But yeah, very successful man, but lonely, very, very lonely, being a big house all by himself. And I don't know if it's a certain type of person that breeds, but I can only imagine that, if you're going for success, you're letting other things fall to the back burner, and that's relationships.
What I think about Megyn Kelly is that it's the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have done to you. So when Megyn Kelly dies, does she want people to remember, to go back and look at all the mistakes she made as a parent? Is that what she wants? Is that what she wants?
I feel like they're going to be bringing up a lot of stuff about Megyn Kelly that has nothing to do with her children.
So no, if that's not how you want to be treated after you pass away, then why would you do that to someone else?
That's a very good point. Now JR was asking, asking us, Kim, if we feel we've given up time with our children to further our own careers. No. And I mean, obviously I haven't been there for every, after school performance. There's things that I've missed. It becomes harder. It has led me to say no to certain career opportunities because, so for instance, years ago, before I even went to KGO, I was offered a position at KFI in Los Angeles. And it was a huge opportunity. I had just purchased a house in Sacramento and I had just had my first child, my daughter. And I remember flying into LA for the interview, and no offense if you live in LA, but like you see that level of smog that you just like fly into, and not looking at it. I mean, it happens. But I just remember looking around and walking down the street, and I knew I didn't want to live there. I was away from any of my family, all of my support system. My husband would have to change jobs. And I just had this little girl. And thankfully, a couple of years later, I got another job opportunity in San Francisco at Station X, which actually was my dream job. I did my college internship there. I'd always wanted to work there, and it worked for me. I mean, I moved my way up. I'll say this, though, kind of on a personal level, there was a point right after my son was born, the first year I was at Station X, or maybe it had to be my first year at Station X. I really wanted to move to back to being a reporter. They had moved me quickly to being an evening anchor. And it was hard because I was dropping my kids off in the morning and then not seeing them till the next morning.
Yep.
And so that lasted, I don't know how long I did. I did evening, probably 8 months or so. I don't even think I did it a year before I moved to afternoons, something like that. And I remember going to one of our old bosses and I asked him and he said, no, I need you on evenings. And it was devastating. I was so upset. Thankfully, it worked out. And then, although I hated the hours, I really hated the hours. Morning show drive. That was the best schedule ever. It was hard.
There was a reason you and I were on the mornings together, because we have husbands or family members that are in place that could drop the kids off at school. And we were home for pickup and all afternoon activities and dinner time and bedtime. The early morning drive in TV and radio is great if you're a parent.
Yeah.
So when I had that shift, I don't feel like I missed very much, but there were other times when I had the afternoon shift when I couldn't volunteer like I wanted to, you know?
And it's tough.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think my kids will come in the room while I'm on the air with you and I will kind of shoo them out like I'm on the air, but because they don't really need anything other than, can I play a video game, or
they want to be seen on the show. Come on.
They do. But I don't feel like that is not spending time with my kids. They can be okay for a couple hours on their own.
God, yes.
They're fine. I'm home with them. I'm here with them.
You're here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the best scenario for us. I really think this allows us to be here when we're needed.
Exactly.
And that morning drive, that was okay. But there have been times where I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make sure that, everybody gets where they need to be? Or how am I going to make sure that I volunteer and they see me volunteering in their classrooms when I have to be, at Station X all day? So but you know what? I'm not the only person, because if you have to work, and in the Bay Area, everybody needs a 2-income household, right?
Exactly.
You have to work. So, I mean, it's just the way of the world. I mean, you have to make money for your family, and it's always going to be a balance.
It is. And it's not going to always be equal or fair with whoever your partner is. Yeah. If you have a partner, I mean, I can't even imagine if I was doing it on my own, if I was a single parent or something like that. It's tough. It's not easy to, especially live in a high cost area like the Bay Area, to make everything work, because it's not as if I could look at my husband and be like, okay, honey, I'm not going to work anymore, which again is why we so want this show, to work on a personal and kind of begging for money type of aspect of it. We need the financial support because we are on our own and doing this kind of little startup type of show on our own, so we can still have this relationship with the viewers and the listeners, still bring in a salary, and at the same time still be part of our household. So it's not easy. But we're trying to make it work. So yes, as Ricky puts, the logistics of life as it is. Okay, we're a little late let's do just a couple quick headlines from Kim. And then when we come back, my daughter tried to pull a prank on me. Speaking of kids, driving up the wall. I texted her. I was really hoping, you want your kids not to be on their phones at school, but God forbid you need anything from them, right? And, because she has a video of this prank that she took, and I don't know where she put it. I thought she sent it to me, but she didn't. But I'll show you how it backfired for one celebrity's son, and I'll play you the prank and then his response to it coming up. And I also still want to get to the question. We'll have time. Is nepotism bad? And is it actually even avoidable? So we'll have that all coming up after a couple quick headlines from Kim McCallister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McCallister.
And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. A level 5 storm on the way in tomorrow. We know we are going to get pounded by rain in the Bay Area, high winds as well coming in, and ABC 7 is putting this storm at a category 5. It's the first time that they have gone to that high of a level ever with their category situation. So this is going to be a big deal. We're going to see some flooding. We are going to see some power outages. We will likely see toppled trees and mudslides around the Bay Area as this big one moves in. In other news, it's House Speaker or House Republican leader, I should say. I keep trying to call him House Speaker, but he might not be the House Speaker the way it's going. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy loses the second round of voting in the election for Speaker. McCarthy doesn't have the votes to hit the 218 needed to secure the Speaker's gavel. The chamber will continue to hold votes until a candidate receives a majority vote. And I've been watching. Let's see if I still have it up. That's Jeremy Renner. Okay, so here's how the third round has shaped up or is shaping up. 149 now for Representative McCarthy, 144 for Democrat Jim Jeffries, and 16 for Jim Jordan.
Okay, so this isn't the final vote. The vote's still going on, though.
This is the third round.
Yeah, so it's still active. Because I was thinking the 150 was no. So 150, I just got it updated from CNN. 150 for McCarthy, 146 Jeffries, 17 for Jordan.
17 for Jordan now.
Yeah. All right. Well,
so that's how it looks. They still can't quite get it together. Well, we'll keep our eye on that and see how it plays out.
I love it. I love it.
And of course, earlier, McCarthy was accused of losing his moral compass. There have been all kinds of deals being made, so I don't know how this is going to pan out. We'll see. The man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students is waiving extradition to face murder charges in that state. According to his public defender, Brian Kohberger wants to return to Idaho to prove that he is innocent of the murders that took place in November. Kohberger was arrested this last Friday after weeks of investigation by the FBI and local police as well. Buffalo Bills say Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition, unfortunately, after spending the night in the ICU at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest, collapsed on the field during the Bills game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night. His family acknowledged the first responders and healthcare professionals at the hospital, who they say have been providing exceptional care to him. Wall Street closing lower to start the new year. At the closing bell, Dow Jones lost 11 points. The S&P 500 fell 15 points. NASDAQ dropped 79 points. The number of young children who accidentally ate cannabis edibles dramatically increased in the last 5 years. It's not hard to figure out why, right? According to an analysis of the National Poison Data System, the number jumped more than 1,000%. Researchers say increased legalization across the United States means edibles are just more widely available. Man, that means that kids' fingers can get into them. Bad Bunny. Know who he is? I know he's big in the music world. Fans need to respect his space, he says, when coming up to him in public. Back off the bunny. The pop star is seen on video throwing a phone after a group surrounded him in the street in the Dominican Republic. He says he'll always respect and give attention to fans, but he added those who put a phone in his face lack respect and he will treat them the same way.
There you go.
This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, we say it again and again, but I couldn't mean it anymore. Call Steve Moskowitz. He's your tax guy, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Yeah, and Eric writes, people have to stop leaving their gummies in open containers, though to be fair, those containers are hellishly impossible to open in the first place. Yeah, I think they try to make them semi-child proof, but obviously, and I'd like to know the age. I'm sure there's little kids that accidentally get into it. We could also be teenagers whose parents notice that they're high and they're like, I accidentally got into your edibles. Sure you
Yeah,
did.
but I don't think you call poison control for a teenager, right?
I don't know. Matters how high they are, I guess. I don't know.
I'm calling for an 8-year-old. I don't know if I'm calling for a 16-year-old. Maybe.
Well, kids do stupid things. And on that note, I got to play you this video. Now, let me share my story first. So, Christmas Day, and you guys would have loved this video if she would have sent it to me. Maybe I'll share it tomorrow. I got it. My niece. I think my daughter. Okay, hold on. So you're going to have to wait because.
Well, while you do that, let me just tell you the current vote. The third round of voting. Democrat Jeffries at 168, McCarthy at 162, and Representative Jordan at 19. So
is that the final?
No, well, not yet. No.
Okay.
Right now, the Democrat has more votes than the Republican in a Republican-led House. It's not going to stay that way, but it's amusing to look at. Now, Jeffries at 171, McCarthy at 164, and Jordan at 20.
I am loving this so much. Okay.
I think it's 218 to win.
Yeah, it has to be 218. They have to get to 218. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they don't get to 218, I have no idea what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to show you this video once it uploads. So just to set the stage, there is this prank that's been going around on like TikTok and whatever, social medias with all these kids. And it actually made its way to my household on Christmas. So you're going to see me in my Christmas PJs with my mom. Okay. And hopefully, let me make sure the volume's up. I hope you can hear this. I haven't checked this. I literally just got it. Okay, here we go.
Mom. Because how else is it correct? Otherwise, it's just a fucking opinion. No words.
Matthew McConaughey dead at 53 years old.
No, he is not.
Yes, he is. Died in a car crash.
No way.
So that's my daughter trying to convince me. Sorry for my pie
What did
mouth.
she say at the end?
So
no,
it's
did she give a cause of death?
Yeah, like died of a heart attack at 54 or whatever.
Oh, died of a heart attack. Okay. She had you going for like
no, that wasn't me. That was like, no, that was my sister-in-law Jessica yelling, and then my mother. If you noticed, my face is like, no. One, I think I have Google alerts set for Matthew McConaughey. Okay, no. Do you see him right here? I would know. I would know instantly if Matthew McConaughey was dead.
You would feel it in your soul.
There would be a shaking in the forest. That Matthew McConaughey died. So anyway, she tried to get me. So this is the thing that the kids are doing. I'm so glad that my niece just literally sent it to me because they were messing with me. So here is, let me share my screen. Angela Bassett. You know Angela Bassett?
Yeah.
Actress. So this is Angela Bassett's son pulling the same nonsense on his mother. Here we go.
Did you wait, Mom, Dad? Did you hear this? Michael B. Jordan dead at 35. 35.
Yeah, but you're playing.
35.
You're playing.
What?
So it's mean, right? And she worked with Michael B. Jordan. They did Black Panther. Like you could tell in her face, she's like, no. So now that kid now has 2 buttholes, okay? Because his mother probably kicked the living poop out of him, probably literally, not figuratively, because this is his apology. And I am loving this. I am loving it so much because that is a good mama right there. She was not having it at all. Here we go. So this is Angela Bassett's son, Slater Vance, which is a great name.
I would sincerely like to apologize for taking part in such a harmful trend. I apologize to Michael B. Jordan's entire family, his extended family, and him directly, as he is an idol of mine, and taking part in a trend like this is completely disrespectful. I don't wish any bad ramifications of my actions upon his family, nor my parents, as they deserve none of the backlash. And I own this was a mistake, and I hope this can be a teaching lesson to anyone else who uses social media as a tool and a source of entertainment to truly understand that your actions can have consequences that extend beyond you. I apologize for any hurt that my actions may have caused Mr. Jordan or parents or anyone else who could have been involved with it. And I am truly truly and sincerely sorry, and I apologize. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
you
for your
do.
time.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yes.
she's like yelling at all those things. How dare you? Do you know that these people have families? Do you know how quickly this takes off? Do you know how long it is to pull something like this back? Why would you put that family through all this heartache? Why would you put me through this heartache? Like all of these things
All
would
I
be
have to say is
happening.
bravo, Angela
Yes,
Bassett.
exactly. Like, you know, that
Yes.
mama was like, oh, how dare you? And
And
it is a
now
terrible
you will
prank. It
apologize.
is. Yeah, it is
And
a
it
terrible
better be
prank.
sincere apology, and you better
Yeah,
get to it. That's right.
exactly. And it better be sincere. You can tell he was crying.
You know, that's funny. Recently, Julia got in trouble on the air here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, we remember. Yes.
It was the moment where she decided to leave a closed school campus to follow a friend who was following a couple of boys that were going off campus for lunch.
Wow. Tale as old as time. There you go.
Tale as old as time. And so my first thing was, you know what? I'm not going to ground you, but the one thing I want you to do is to write an apology note to each of your
Good.
teachers and
Yes.
to your principal, who told us she had to go to another room and take a few deep breaths because it's her first year as principal and she was petrified that she had lost a student.
Yes.
More than one. And so for that reason alone, like, you need to apologize for putting people through stress. Your teachers didn't know where you were, your principal didn't know where you were.
Exactly.
So you have to apologize, right? And so I'm with Angela Bassett. The apology, you know, you have to own what you did, and my bad, I'm sorry, it up one, down, and the other.
And you have to make it as public as your prank. That's the problem, you know, and you have to raise your kids right. So in the last, several minutes of the show, I want to talk a bit about nepotism. I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of celebrities have been weighing in on being a nepo baby. Okay. We have some colleagues, and I don't think that they'll mind because they actually talked about it on Station X. Brian Copeland and his daughter, Carolyn. Carolyn, when Brian Copeland was on KGO, she was his producer. And there was a lot of talk, not at the station, but online and all those sorts of blurbs about nepotism. Oh, he got her the job. Now, anybody that knew both Carolyn and Brian knew Carolyn works her ass off. Mornings, different jobs. I mean, she put her dues in. And when an opening came on her own father's show, she got it. And so on one hand, is it nepotism? You can call it as in the definition of, I guess, getting a job through a parent type of thing. On the other hand, there's a difference between that and having zero experience in getting the job anyway, a la, I don't know, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, right? I mean, it's kind of like, what the hell do these guys do except, be born? And so there's been a number. Let me start with Allison Williams, okay? She's responded to the Nepo baby. Who is she? I didn't have it. I thought I had it. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, is Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh. She acknowledged being a Nepo baby. But she actually thinks that the conversation around being a Nepo baby is designed to diminish, degrade, and hurt. She obviously has a very long career. Jamie Lee Curtis does 44 years in the industry. This is what she said. She says, it's curious how we immediately make assumptions. And snide remarks that someone related to someone else who is famous in their field for their art would somehow have no talent whatsoever. I have come to learn that's simply not true. I have suited up and shown up for all different kinds of work with thousands of people every day. I've tried to bring integrity and professionalism and love and community and art to my work. I'm not alone. There are many of us dedicated to our craft, proud of our lineage, strong in our belief in our right to exist. And it was that last point that stuck out to me because your right to exist in your own, right? So now I'm trying. Oh, that's right. Allison Williams is the daughter of former NBC nightly news anchor Brian Williams. So that's who she is. And obviously people have been calling her out for what she does, but she's an actress and she's done an amazing job. So do you think nepotism can actually be avoided? When you live in a household, And I'm seeing what you're posting there, Ken.
I mean, the Democrat has 210 votes.
Oh,
The
is this the
McCarthy's
final?
202. Not yet. Not
Oh,
yet.
okay.
I mean, but it's a nail biter. I'm watching it. So it's Jeffries at 210, McCarthy at 202, and Jordan at 20. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can. I don't really want Jim Jordan as the next Speaker of the House, by the way, at all. Now, somebody was asking in the chat, back to the nepotism thing, though, is Carrie Fisher? And thank you, Michelle Crocker, for the $2 donation to the super chat. Is Carrie Fisher a nepotism baby? I mean, Carrie Fisher, of course, Debbie Reynolds, and I'm trying to remember Eddie Fisher. Sorry, I was Googling it. She, again, likely got a foot in the door because her parents had connections, but you have to have talent, right? I mean, that's the point. You have to have talent.
I always say it's not the opportunity, it's what you do with the opportunity.
Right.
And that's the same for everybody. Why you got your foot in the door, why you were allowed entry into whatever career or club or whatever. But once you get there, what do you do with it?
Exactly.
And I will say that with people that I have known that may have had a family member, and you mentioned Carolyn Copeland.
Yeah.
What she did with the opportunity was she rose to the very high level and was one of the best. So,
Exactly.
maybe she was there and got an interview because she knew somebody, and who hasn't known somebody and got the interview because of that.
Right.
But once you're there, you better shine like a superstar. And she did.
I love Brandon's post. I've always told my kids, I'll make the introduction. It's on you to get the job. Exactly. Another celebrity that weighed in on this was O'Shea Jackson Jr., the son of Ice Cube. He auditioned for 2 years to play his father in the Oscar-nominated movie Straight Outta Compton. He said, after that, it was up to me. He could not hold my hand through my career. I had to get my ass up, make it work.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was an interesting conversation that I wanted to just touch on a bit. You can look, especially in the celebrity world, because it's so easy to point to them and be like, oh, they're only there because of X, Y, and Z. But if they have the talent, then I think the conversation should change. Like, wow, this line of family members are really talented. They have it in their blood, that sort of thing. Not negate the hard work and effort that the children have on their own, in their own right, that they bring to the table, instead of just dismissing it, as people often do, because it's so much easier. All right.
There's so many. You look at Drew Barrymore.
Oh God, yes.
At Kate Hudson, at Gwyneth Paltrow, all these people who had famous parents, but we've seen movies, or they've won Oscars, or they've risen to the challenge and really taken it on. So is it a bad thing that, that they got their foot in the door because they had a name, or that someone knew their dad or whatever? No.
Just work, though. You know what I mean? I mean, you can get your foot in the door. You might have gotten it because of a family member or a connection that way. But if you get there and you don't know your head from your butthole, I mean, then you're fired. You're out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's it. That's it. I do want to say a big thank you to everybody that's been donating to the super chat. Wes giving us a $4 super sticker.
Oh, thank you, Wes.
Thank you. We got $1.99, $2 from Michelle Crocker, and another $5 from her, saying, given the pandemic's nature, work from home is safer. Universities can take a few cues from that. I agree. Daddy Chi with a $1 super sticker. And then, of course, Eric Kennedy.
Thanks, Eric.
$20.23. Happy New Year 2023. We get it. We get it. Thank you, everybody. Of course, you can donate to the super chat even when you watch it in replay, which so many of you do. Please click that thumbs up before the show ends. YouTube loves it, so we love it, and it helps support the show. Join our cool club. Become a Patreon subscriber for any amount, and you will have exclusive access to some more videos that I'll be posting in the new year. Find the link to our Patreon at thenikkimedoroshow.com. I also think it's actually in the banner at the top of my YouTube channel. In the corner right there. So you could just click on that as well and find it. PayPal donations, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And of course, just reach out to us. The Nikki Medoro Shop is where you can get this cool merchandise that I'll also be adding to in 2023. I love you all. I appreciate you all. All right.
Here's how we leave it.
Is it done? The
Nope.
third vote? They're still voting.
212 for Jeffries, the Democrat.
I still have some popcorn left. Okay, go ahead.
202 for McCarthy, the Republican,
Uh-huh.
and 20 for Jim Jordan. Let me do a quick refresh and see if that's still the way it looks.
Oh my
But
God.
I tell you what, I can't even believe the way this is shaking out.
I
Yeah,
can.
Third
Kevin
round
McCarthy's
of
an ass.
voting, and at this point, it won't stay that
Okay.
way. The Democrat has 212 votes. So I can't wait to talk about this tomorrow.
If they're still voting tomorrow, I'm going to pee my pants. Live on air. All right, well, we'll see. Hopefully they'll get to it because we have work to do in this country. And we need to get things done. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay dry. Please stay safe. And take it away, Jacob.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.